Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. We are getting ready to show you something super cool. Super cool. Matt, can you let me know when we've got eyeballs coming on?
15 people already.
13 people already. Lucky 13. Awesome. We'll just give it another maybe 10 seconds or so. We've got a really awesome thing to share with you tonight. This is something we picked up at the trade show. We have barely been home for 24 hours from the trade show, and already we are bringing you probably the number one must-have item that we saw away in Ohio at the NAMTA Creativation show.
It won Best New Product.
It won Best New Product of the show, and let me tell you, people are going crazy. Matt's going to be monitoring the comments for me. He has promised to behave himself, and so make sure you are saying hello in the comments. He's going to feed me questions as well. I do not have them in front of me, so he will feed me those questions. I do have some questions from people who posted already earlier this afternoon, so thank you very much. All right, so take it time to jump in, Matt.
26 people on board.
26 people. We are good to go. Good evening, everyone. This is a special edition of What's New. Because we've been away at the trade show, obviously we haven't received any new product into the system. We certainly received a lot of boxes. I think Matt had about 20 plus boxes that he came back to that he will be working through over the next couple of days. But what is more new than a brand new product? So tonight I'm going to be introducing you to the Spellbinders BetterPress. This is a letterpress system. And if you don't know what letterpress is, this is the best way to explain it. It's how I explained it to Charlie when we were telling him about it the other day. Think back to, I'm going to say, olden times when they used to make the newspaper by placing metallic letters all in order to print the story. Then they rolled it with ink and then they pressed it into the paper. So not only did it transfer the ink, but it made an impression, and that's how they used to do old style printing processes. And the letterpress system has been around for obviously quite some time and has been used in card making as well. Think wedding invitations, think engraved style cards and invitations and notices on nice, thick, luxurious paper, beautiful ink. And the idea of this is to get you the utmost in detail and crisp images in a way that even rubber stamps can't get for you. And Spellbinders has been working on this off and on for about 8 or 9 years, and they feel like they really have the solution underway. So under this bag, whoop, is a box. Haha, teased ya. We're going to be prepared to be impressed. This is not the kind of box that you will get when you purchase this particular item. This is how we got our class kit, and it's just got all the stuff in it. I've actually pulled some of this stuff out. So as I open, as I reveal, this is the Spellbinders BetterPress. This is the literature. This is kind of a little sneaky peeky of stuff that I'm going to share with you. Uh, this is the paper. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about paper in just a second. There is the BetterPress. They call them press plates. So we not only have dies for die cutting, we have our hot foil plates for foiling. Now we have our press plates for better pressing. And trust me, it does get to be a bit of a tongue twister, but we will go with it. And then there is your main BetterPress unit. So one of the questions earlier today from Ellen was, how is this different than a MISTI? Well, this is vastly, vastly different than using a MISTI or any kind of stamping because there is actually no rubber or polymer stamps involved in this. This again is where we're going to use these beautifully etched plates in order to transfer ink and impression to our paper. Let me just grab you. I've got one of my samples here, and you will see how absolutely stunning and beautiful this is. And let me tell you, it is also a very tactile thing. So obviously I can't get you all to reach through the screen and touch the paper here, but it is debossed ever so slightly into the paper. So you not only get that gorgeous ink transfer, but you do get that slight impression as well. Not so much that it transfers through to the back side, and that might be one thing that we play with tonight, but really just great detail, precision, and absolutely stunning. Matt, please do wave at me, interrupt me if there are any questions. Hopefully people are super excited about this.
Well, so far it's just Jan Lavelle wanted to make sure she hopes we had a good trip.
Well, thank you, Jan. Yes, we did have a fabulous trip. I will tell you, as much as I am a virtual person, I like virtual because I don't have to pack up all my stuff. One thing that definitely is so much better in person is just the interactions we have with people. The wonderful people we had dinner with, that we met in the hallway and chatted with, that we sat around a table sharing a drink with. You really can't get that with virtual. So it was definitely a very productive and valuable trip from that standpoint. And again, if we'd been virtual, I don't know that I'd be able to bring you all of this amazing stuff that I'm going to share with you tonight.
And Donna has already noticed the correct spelling for favorite on that sample.
So Donna has already noticed the correct spelling of favorite on this. I will get to that in just a second. So thank you for noticing that, Donna. That definitely is a key thing that I'm going to share with you tonight. So let's get into it. What is the BetterPress? So this kind of looks like, if you have a glimmer, you're going to say, but that looks like the glimmer plate, the glimmer hot foil device that we use to do the hot foiling, and it is very similar. It is designed specifically, obviously, to work with the Spellbinders, either the Platinum or the Platinum 6. It is compatible with Big Shots as well. I have not read yet in the literature. Let me see if I can even find this here in my FAQ. Is it compatible? So, according to the FAQ, it is compatible with Switch machines as well. So you can use this in your Big Shot Switch if you have one of those. This is not powered in any way, sense, shape, or form like the Glimmer plate is. This is simply a manual machine. You don't need a plug. You don't need anything special other than your die cutting machine. And there are a few different pieces to this baby. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is, let me get all these little bits out. This piece right here, this is called the chase. Not really sure why. Just know that it's called the chase, or I may call it the base or the platform. It does have these little pieces here that squish and plunge down into the base, and these little guys are magnetic. That is going to be very key as we get using this machine. With your BetterPress, you also get 3 shims. To date, I have not played with this enough yet to know exactly what that perfect number of shims are, and I'm sure it really depends on the paper that you are using. But in our class, when we started playing with this, they invited us to use all 3 shims and put them right down here in the little well here. Then there is this plate here. This is a magnetic plate. So this is the plate that you are going to use to hold onto your press plates. So it is magnetic. It will hold everything in place. Other things to notice. It has already lined up the A2 outline as well as A7, which is 5x7. I don't know that you'd want to go too much bigger, but this gives you a nice frame in which to work with. And I will tell you that becomes really key when you are laying out your plates and getting them ready to go. So that's also going to drop in the little well here. And then there is your top plate. So this is a clear plate. that you will use on top. This is what's going to hold your paper. And again, you'll notice let me see if I can, let me do this. So there is the A2 outline as well as the A7 outline so that you can line it up with the frame on that magnetic form. So you can really plan out your card, get everything ready to go, then tape your paper down. Because the real key is once you've got your paper on, you're not going to be able to see where those plates are. So you want to get it kind of all laid out first and then allow your paper to go on top so that it will push into the paper. And that really is that next key. When it runs through your die cutting machine, it is going to squish and press that plate into your paper with the pressure of the die cutting machine. So while you're getting it set, before you put it through your machine, your plate with the ink is not going to touch your paper. And that is key to keeping that precision, that detail, and not allowing any smearing. So without further ado, I'm actually going to get right into it, and I am going to press into a piece of paper. Now,
before you get too far, there's a couple of questions that you may want to address.
Okay, Matt's got a couple of questions here that we're going to talk about before we get into things.
Ink.
So the first question is ink. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. The other one is, can you use the embossed image on the glimmer machine and foil?
The second question is using foil plates in order to do letter pressing. The short answer is no. And again, as I get through and as I start talking about,
it's not about the place, so I'll show you.
Can you use the embossed image in the glimmer machine and foil? Okay, can you use these plates, the BetterPress press plates, in the glimmer machine to foil this shape? Again, I'll get to that in just a second, but the short answer is probably. Any other questions?
Just somebody can't wait to get their hands on it, but that's more of what we're going to be doing.
Okay, so maybe before I get into actually pressing, I will go through the components. So maybe that'll answer some of your questions there. So we talked about the plate, and we talked about the whole press system. I did forget to mention this clear plate is called the platen, I believe. I'm going to pull this little magazine out.
Oh, we just call it the plate.
Yeah. So the chase is the bottom, the platen is the clear top. We are probably just going to, I'm calling it the base and your top plate, but there's a lot of plates in here. So I think that's why there's part of a different name to it. So let's talk about those press plates. If you are a Spellbinders fan, you know that a lot of the Spellbinders, both the dies and the glimmer plates, are that beautiful bronze color. The press plates from Spellbinders are going to be silver. Now, these are different than just regular plates because there is a special coating that has been developed and put on top of the plate so that it'll better accept the ink. You're not going to get any pooling, any puddling, any little speckles. There is a very special coating that is going to help with this whole process. And that was a big part of how it's not only the mechanism of the plate here, it's also what goes into these plates. So to answer that question about can you use these to hot foil, from a functionality standpoint, yes, absolutely. You can put this through your glimmer machine, apply your hot foil to it, and that image will transfer. What Spellbinders is still testing is the longevity of that coating. They have not fully committed that special coating is going to last if you are heating it over and over again. Their results so far are promising. They believe that it's going to be okay and that your plates are going to continue to work well, whether you glimmer them or whether you are pressing them. But right now, the answer is a definite probably. And I'm sorry, Matt, I forget what inks. So the next question is ink. Spellbinders has worked with Ranger to develop a custom formulation of archival ink. Now, this answer goes towards ink as well as to paper. The highest recommendation is to use the custom ink and to use a cotton formulation on the paper. But that is just to get you the best top of the line, most favorable result is to use these very specialty products. We started placing our orders. The pricing is actually not too unreasonable. I don't have it at my fingertips, but they are pretty reasonable in terms of pricing on both the cotton paper. The inks are going to be available there's going to be 2 4-packs, plus you will get a black in your set. But what we're going to do tonight, and this is, I mean, we again haven't even been home 24 hours yet. I've got all kinds of paper over here to the side. I've got Nina 80-pound, Nina 110-pound. I've got Distress Heavy Stock. I've got watercolor paper, that kind of thing. We're going to try all the things. I also have regular archival ink. I have my Memento. I have my Versafine Clair. I have all kinds of other inks that we are going to try out. So please come along with me for the ride as we play and experience and explore some of the different ways we can do this. And I think for everyday use of this product, you can definitely use a variety of inks and papers for success. Matt's just grabbed our big pad of paper. I think there's a question there. I'll let him take care of that. So I think that covers all the questions. So there is your press. There is your specialty coated plates. Now, we just talked about the fact that these plates can be used for glimmer. Thumbs up. What cannot happen is you cannot use your glimmer plates to press. They are much thicker. So in the range of things, you've got your thinlits dies, which are wafer thin. Then you have your BetterPress press plates in terms of thickness. They're next in line. And then the thickest are the glimmer plates. You cannot use your glimmer plates in this system or it will break your top plate. It'll break your platen. It just doesn't have the right thickness. It's too thick to use. So just do be careful in that respect.
Shelley wants to know whether or not using the plates in the glimmer machine will void your warranty on either machines or plates.
So Shelley is asking about warranty and using them interchangeably. I do not believe it will void your warranty, but that is something that we can definitely follow up on and get back to you. Shelley, I would encourage you, we've got it noted here, but I would also encourage you to email us. Email us that question at customerservice@craftersworkshop.ca. That way I can check in with Spellbinders and get back to you directly with a response on that. My understanding, since Spellbinders has already been glimmering with these plates, that it will be okay, but I will 100% confirm that for you in the next 24 hours. Okay, so let's just get into it. Let's get into it. Let's set up a card in your kit. I know that was a question. What comes in your kit? Well, basically, let me show you this picture here, but of course you get your machine. You get a selection of papers, and there's actually 3 different colors. There is porcelain, which is white, bisque, which is a creamier color. So there's the white. Bisque, which is a little bit creamier. There's not a huge difference there, but it is a little bit creamier. And then there is also a gray. And I'm missing the proper name of the gray, but it is really, really beautiful as well. So you'll get a selection of that. You will get this plate set. So that includes these beautiful flowers, and there is 2 versions of the sentiment. The proper way, the Canadian way, to my favorite with a U, and then the American way without the U. So you are getting those 3 pieces in your kit. You will get a roll of Spellbinders Best Ever Creative Tape, and you'll see why in just a second. And you will get a black ink. Mine doesn't have a label on it, but yours, oh no, that's the pink one. Grab the wrong one. There's the black one here. So you will get an ink in your pad as well, or in your kit as well. These inks, and you'll see the way that we have to, the best way to apply this is to give us a twisty, patty motion, a pat, pat, twist, twist to your plate. You will go through ink. So we are also investing in the re-inker and recommend that you do get the re-inker, at least for that black, to get you started. Only the ink pad comes in the kit, but the re-inker is an easy, easy add to your kit. All right, so I'm going to get right into it. And this is using all of the recommended things, and then we will play with inks, we will play with paper, and we will try all the things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift off my platen. I've got my magnetic piece here. I am going to do an A2 card, so I'm going to take my plate, and I am going to put it here off to the side on the left-hand side. Now remember, this is the reverse. So actually I'm going to do that. I'm going to move it to the right then. If I want it to be on the left, I'm going to put it on the right so that it's just going to come across that corner here. I'm going to grab my properly spelled sentiment, and I'm also going to just tuck it right in here where I want it on my card. So essentially I'm recreating this card here. I've got my sentiment a little bit high. And because it's magnetic, you just kind of nudge it into place. A pair of tweezers is always handy. The grid lines make it really easy to line your sentiment up so it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to put this to the side because the next thing I have to do is get my paper ready. I've got my plate. It really doesn't matter whether you're upside down or right side up, but I'm just going to take my paper. Now this is, as I said, a cotton weave paper, so you do have to be a little bit careful with where you place your, or how stiffly you place your tape. You can place it behind, or you can just put little bits in the corner, which is what I'm going to do on this one here. And you really don't need a whole lot. So just there in the corner.
Spellbinders didn't talk about what percentage of cotton the paper was in their demos, did they?
So the question is percentage of cotton in the paper. Unfortunately, they did not give us that level of detail. I can find that out, or I can at least try to find that out. Matt, this is the FAQ. I don't think it's in there. I don't remember reading that before, but Matt can have a...
It's not in the package.
Okay. So here I've just got my paper just ever so slightly taped in the corner. You do want to be gentle when you're tearing it, when you're peeling it up when we're all done. Or like I said, you could always put the tape on the back side so that even if it does slightly tear the paper, you're not gonna see it. I'm just clearing off my space here because even though this does have a little bit of play, you definitely want to have your machine close by so that you can just quickly set it all up, pop it over, and put it right through the machine as quickly as possible. So I'm going to just adjust here, make sure everything is on camera as much as possible so I can move quickly. So as I mentioned, you're going to do more of a pat, pat, twist, twist kind of application. Let's see if I can bring it. So I'm literally just twisting and applying. And you really can see the ink, at least with the black. You can see it. And that way you know if you've got good coverage, even on some of those detailed areas. I'm just doing a twist. Be careful with the sentiment because if you do twist too hard, you may move it, and you don't want to move it.
Are you getting ink on your plate?
I am getting ink on my plate. And it's kind of like your foil plates too. If you get it dirty, it just means you're using it lots. You can also clean it. Once I get this ink, I'll show you about cleaning it. But there we go. So I've got my ink in place. I'm now going to take my platen paper side down, and you're going to hear the snap. And I probably did that a little too vigorously, but it is still separated from the paper. There is a gap. And now I'm just going to gently, let me clear it away here, run this through my machine. You don't need a lot of pressure. You can see I'm literally doing it with my one finger and thumb.
You don't even have to hold the machine.
Don't have to hold the machine. No resist. There's just ever so slight little amount of resistance. Now the key with this, do not come back, because if it slips even ever so slightly, you're going to ruin your print. Let's get this out of the way. And voila. Absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm looking at this compared to one of my originals. I don't think I put enough ink on it, so you can always experiment with ink. However, this is not like stamping. I will not put this through again. Once it's done, it's done. You don't want to put it through a second time. But that ink is perfectly dry. It's got that little bit of a debossed impression, so it really does feel engraved in that paper. Now, this ink is not 100% alcohol ink friendly. So you can watercolor on this, you can pencil crayon color on this, but at this time it is not, with the specialty ink, it is not recommended for Copic markers, your colorista markers, that kind of thing. That's not to say I'm not eventually going to try it, because I just really want to see how it's going to work. And you know what, maybe we'll do that right now. So I'm just gently peeling up the tape. I'm leaving it in place because I know I'm going to be doing more. So there's no point in peeling it all the way up. But I can, let me just find a place for it. So I'm just going to grab, this is my Copic here, and I know it's not the right colors, but if I color this leaf, oh, and that of course is not a good marker. Let's try this one. So you may get some bleeding and some feathering with a Copic marker because it is not, yeah. So I'm already seeing, I don't know if it's going to focus. There is a little bit of smearing and feathering on that ink. Now, I am going to try in a second with the Pink Fresh Detail Black, which is alcohol ink friendly. So we'll see how that goes. But instead, if I wanted to watercolor, let me grab, so if I wanted to watercolor, I can do that. And I did bring paper towel down, but now I don't know where it is. But I can just take this ink here. And again, I can paint and watercolor and get no bleeding or running whatsoever. So this is absolutely beautiful for watercoloring, for pencil crayon coloring. It's just not, this particular ink is not ideal for your Copic markers. But there's some samples there as to how that's going to work. All right, cleaning. So you can just take a baby wipe or your basic stamp cleaner with water. I would not use any special cleaners on here. You can just wipe it down. Or if you're, it's like a stamp. If you're going to be using the same color over and over, you don't need to clean it every single time. The other thing that Spellbinders gave us in our class is the archival ink cleaner from Ranger. So if you really want to give these a good clean, especially if you feel like you don't like your plates being dirty, then that archival ink cleaner will be super handy, and we'll make sure that we keep this in stock. Now, this cleaner will also go towards cleaning up your plate. Don't put it directly on. Just take your microfiber cloth or a paper towel. I'm just going to apply a little bit here to my cloth, and then I can clean up my plate. No problem. So that is the steps from cleaning. Do we have any questions, Matt?
Faith wants to know if the ink will be just in black. Well,
So the question is, will the ink be just in black? In your kit, you will get black. However, there will be 2 4-packs. And get the other brochure here. They are starting with 2 different 4-packs. One is called the Nature Tones. So we've got pink, so wildberry, French blue, saffron, and tawny brown. And the Regal Tones have bark, mulberry, cosmic sky, and then another black if you want them. So to start with, they will they will only be in the 4-packs. And if you'll notice, and I forgot to mention this, they are the mini size. You can use inks in the full size, and we will be when I get the Memento out because I only have it in full size. But because of that twisty motion, because of some of the places where you're going to want to add detail to it, Spellbinders does recommend mini inks just because they're a little bit easier to handle and a little bit better for applying the ink in a more consistent way. Just cleaning up the excess here on my magnet sheet.
All right, let's try something new.
Matt says, let's try something new. So yes, let's try something new. I'm going to try. Just going to make sure it's clean because if I'm changing, I'm going to start by changing the ink and let's see what happens. And then we will change the paper and go back to the regular ink. So, and what I'm going to do just to conserve on paper, I'm going to smooch this up this way so that I can get potentially 2 on one sheet. Let me put this back here. Okay, so I'm going to continue to use my flour. I'm going to continue to use my cotton paper. Get the right one out here. And let me load that up. So I'm going to start by using, because as a big Copic colorer, as someone who uses her alcohol markers a lot, I'm going to try by using that Memento ink. So I'm just going to, I don't have a small one of the mini one. And this one, just because I'm being mindful of space, I may not cover my entire area, but we'll get the idea. Okay. Now I'm going to put my platen in place, bring my machine over, and that's going to move the water and crank it away. So you should never feel significant resistance. It's not like die cutting where you want things to get pressed through. You can still squeeze it down, as I just did when I lifted up, and voila. So I do know that my pad is not super juicy. It's not as dark as I might like it, but you could definitely do much more of an application than what I did. But on the plus side, I can now take this and color with my Copics and have no bleeding or issue whatsoever.
Is it as crisp as the other one though? I can't tell.
Matt's asking about Christmas. Well, there's the 2. And to me, they look pretty similar. I love the detail that we get in here, and especially when I color with Copics, I like those indications of where the shadows should go so that I can know how to color them properly. But still a nice crisp image there, and now I can Copic color. All right. So next up.
So really you just need to make sure you have a juicy black ink pad.
Matt is, so I don't know if you guys can hear Matt coming across through my microphone, but the key really is juiciness of your ink, well, at least as we've seen so far. The specialty ink will give you a little bit more intensity, but to me, this Memento did pretty darn good as well. All right, so next up, and I know this is a question that many people have had. Oxide. Ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah.
So again, I'm just doing that patting, twisting motion.
No, there's no mini pads for those ones. So.
There are no mini pads for the distress, but I think that's okay. Okay, now this time, because these are symmetrical, I'm going to put it down in the opposite direction. And yes, these may overlap for demo purposes. You would not do that on your own, but here we go. Let's see how this works. I think my handle needs a little bit of WD-40. It's a little bit squeaky. Let's see what happens. Ooh, ah.
Wow, that turned out all right.
So that turned out pretty well. I know when we were in class, Spellbinders does not recommend pigment inks. They are going to smoosh a little bit, but that oxide did work pretty well. Pretty impressed with that. So if you wanted to do more of a monochromatic look, or maybe you want to use one of these ones, so this one is You Make Me Happy. If you were just doing a sentiment or something like that, then looks like your oxide is going to work. And you know what? I told you guys this with your glimmer plates. I'm going to tell you the same thing with the BetterPress. Once you get these in your hot little hands, I highly encourage you to sit down, to get out some paper, and just play. So I'm going to take this right off now.
While you're cleaning up.
Matt's got another question.
Well, this is the question for me.
Okay. Oh, this is a Matt question.
Can you better press one plate over top of an image from another plate? So for example, you put that flower on, then you do a sentiment over top of the flower in a different color?
Okay, so Matt is asking, if you could not hear him in the background, can you letterpress an image over another image? That is a great question. I know that you can letterpress two colors at the same time, as long as they're on, well, I guess you could do it on the same plate as well. But I've not actually tried the layering.
Okay.
Let's play with that. So now that we've tried a bunch of different inks, the one ink that I have not tried yet is just a regular, like a regular Pink Fresh ink. But I'm pretty confident after trying the Memento and trying the Oxide that that would work pretty well. But as Matt is just pointing out, we have not tried the other paper yet. So let's switch up our paper and try. I'm going to switch right to Nina 80 pound, and then we'll move up to the 100 pound and see what happens there. We still got lots of people with us.
46.
46. Awesome sauce. Okay. What have I got here? Besides a pile of stuff. Where's my 80 and my 100 pounds? So this is my Nina 80 pound, and I'm gonna just trim it down. My light's in the way. Bear with me a second as I trim my paper down to an A2 size. So while I'm trimming, let me talk a little bit about what's the timeline. So currently we are taking deposits. We are taking a $50 deposit that you can email us. Here's that number again. Customer service at craftersworkshop.ca, and we will send you an invoice. We are very fortunate that because we were at the trade show, we have special permission to be showing this and taking pre-orders before anyone else. Anyone who is at the show has permission to do this. So we are taking deposits, $50. We will send you an invoice, so just email us at the store. If you are going to be at Scrapfest not this weekend, but next weekend. Like, holy cow, Scrapfest is just a week and a half away. Myself and Stamplicity and Glitter and Ink will be demonstrating the BetterPress in person. So if you want to come out and see and get up close and personal with this, you absolutely can. And we will be taking deposits at Scrapfest as well. The global launch of the BetterPress will be on June 3rd. So if all goes well, we will have the product in our hands and be ready to ship to you or make available for pickup your machines on June the 3rd. And Spellbinders is going to have all kinds of inspiration and launch ideas and projects and everything else as well. So you know that Spellbinders does all of that stuff so well. They're going to give us all kinds of ideas and things that we can do with this. Plus, there will be a whole selection of plates. You can get extra paper. You can get the inks at that time and all of that good stuff as well. Okay, so I have switched to the Nina 80 pound. I am going back to the original ink just so that we keep things, keep our test pure, if you will. Just trying to clear, just saw a little bit of extra red on that guy. You can also run these under the tap if you really want to give them a good clean. But let's go back to our twist, twist, pat, pat. You really do want to press. You want to be firm. You want to press that in. I think maybe that was my challenge earlier on, is that I wasn't pressing hard enough on this. Don't be dainty. And we'll push this in. Now I'm going to close that up. I'm going to flip this over and let's see what that thinner paper will do. Look. And away we go. So I've talked about what this is. I've talked about your machines. I've talked about ink. I've talked about paper, and that's what we're playing with now. I've talked about finishing techniques. One thing I haven't spoken about is that some of the plates also have dies. So for example, this is a little sentiment set that you would press out the actual words and then go in with the die and cut it out. I also have one here that has butterfly, and you can cut out just the thank you or just cut out just the butterfly. The key with this is, especially if you are using the cotton paper, you want to have a nice, clean, pristine top plate for when you are die cutting. Because what will happen with that cotton paper, it is very soft. So if you have any scratches, cut marks, anything like that on your plate, those may very likely transfer into your paper. So even if you just have one plate that you keep just for die cutting your pressed. Okay, so that's actually not too bad. It's not as crisp, and I will say the tactile, because this is a much thinner paper, you don't get nearly as much of an impression into your paper as you did with the cotton paper, but that's pretty darn awesome. So that was on the 80 pound. Let's try it again with the 100 pound. Sorry, 110, just to give you a range. That was, and you know what, I'm gonna find my pen and I'm gonna write on my paper exactly what this was, because I know I'm going to forget down the road. Matt's gone to get his glasses. So this was my 80 pound Nina. This was Oxide. This was Memento. So if you are playing with samples, I do recommend you do that as well. If you're building your own little kind of swatch book, make your notes too, because you know, if you're like me, you may not remember. I'm just going to say original here.
Oh, is this with Nina?
That's with the Nina. The Nina 80 pound. Now I'm going to do the Nina 110.
That didn't turn out too bad. Sorry, I was distracted.
All right, so here's my, oops, I didn't cut that straight. There we go. Here's my Nina 110. Nina 110. And just put it back into place. Run that down, run that down, run that up, and my ink. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Push. Don't be dainty. Push and twist, push and twist. And yes, I'm getting it all over my magnet sheet, but I'm confident that I can clean that up. And you know what? Let's at least give it a little bit. Yeah.
Have you done the sentiment one yet? No.
The sentiment strips? No, I've not done that yet. All right. I love that it's got that snap into place and it just runs so smoothly through here. Again, don't have to worry about whether you've got strength, but like I said, it is compatible with your switch machine. So if you do prefer your motorized machine, it will absolutely work in there as well. All right, so this is the 110. Sweet. Again, it's a little bit smoother, doesn't have quite the same tactile as the cotton does. So my recommendation is save your cotton paper for your real, like if you want to pump out some beautiful Christmas cards or wedding invitations or thank you cards, save that cotton paper for your really special projects, and then you've got your regular paper for practicing, for everyday cards. I do just want to give this a little bit of a clean, because you guys know me. I don't like mess.
Okay, so while you're cleaning.
Okay, Matt's got some questions while I'm cleaning up.
Well, there's just one. Marina wants to know what's the difference between using these new plates to the original plates using the soft embossing folder, if any.
I'm thinking you mean like the silicone mat in terms of getting the impression. From an impression standpoint, it's very similar, but with the silicone mat, the transfer of ink will not be as clean. As I mentioned off the top, these do have a special coating on them to really accept the ink and make that transfer really, really clean. And there's my spot. Really clean and crisp when you transfer it. So that is the primary difference. And again, I personally like that plunger mechanism so that I can get everything set up, and then the paper does actually not touch the plate until you run it through the machine. That way you've got much less of a chance of smearing it, smudging it, and a much better chance of success of completing this project without having to do it over and over and over again.
Okay, so that seems to have answered the question.
Excellent. I'm glad that helped. Okay, I'm going to clean.
As a time check, you are 49 minutes in.
49 minutes in. Okay, so
wow, that went fast.
That did go really, really fast. So that was using the Nina 110. We've used the Nina 80 pound. One thing I'm curious about is foil. So this is the Spellbinders metallic gold. Just for fun, I want to give that a try and see how that works. I am fairly confident that the impression will transfer. What I am curious about is the ink.
You got Donna's attention now.
Oh, now I've got attention. And, I'm just going to keep using the same plate. I was going to change, but just for ease of comparison, I'm going to keep on keeping on. This one, I am going to put the sentiment back on with the proper spelling of favorite. so that potentially I have a nice finished card. Oh, if I can get this up off my. All right, so let's tuck this right in here.
You should try it on the back side of that paper so that you.
So Matt's saying we should try it on the back side too. So if you do have a boo-boo, can you just flip it over? Let me try the gold first, and maybe I'll do some of these experiments off camera as well. If there's anything else you guys would like me to try after I finish doing the gold here, please pop that in the comments. If you want to see me try with just the regular ink, I can try. I also have heavy stock and watercolor paper that I can try. Those are all things that I've pulled out here. I bring this. You guys don't necessarily need to see me cranking, but so this is the Spellbinders Gold Metallic. Sticking with Spellbinders to start. I may play with some other brands of foil down the road, but for right now. Oh, one other thing I can show you too is they did give us a sample of the wild berry, which is the pink. That's what made this one. So you can change up the color. And like I said, you can do multiple colors as well. Whoops, that was a big swash on my magnetic plate. But I'm not going to stress. No stress. This is really addictive. I mean, the video may be over shortly, but I can't promise that I'm going to put it away. All right, so that is the black ink. That is the Spellbinders custom ink. Putting my press into place like so. This is the gold foil. And
You've used this one, these ones?
I've not used the Hero Reactive, which would be similar to the Oxide, and I have not used the straight Pink Fresh yet.
Sorry, Distress here?
Distress will be the same as the Pink Fresh.
And you haven't done that.
And I have not done that one yet. Okay. Dun, da, 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 drum roll. So, not as crisp as on the white paper. I'm just going to test. Doesn't smear though. So in that heavier area, you might want, so right here in the centers, you might want to let it dry. It did smear ever so slightly, but how cool is that on that gold metallic paper? Pretty darn stunning. Again, not as intense as on the white, probably because that metallic finish just is resisting the ink somewhat. But I do think that that is pretty cool looking and something to definitely explore. Now, one of the other keys to this, and I was thinking about this as I was selecting paper, is contrast. So having that dark ink on the white paper is absolutely stunning. As you get into colored paper, especially as the paper gets darker, it's going to be harder and harder to tell, just as if you were stamping in black. If you stamped in black on a dark blue paper, it's not going to show up nearly as well. Now, because white is a pigment, I don't know how well that would work on this. Maybe I will try that off camera at some point, but I think that's really cool that it will work on that metallic paper.
We've had a couple of requests for watercolor paper.
Okay.
As well as regular ink. Okay,
watercolor paper and regular ink. So let's do one at a time. While I still have this ready with the initial ink, let me put my watercolor paper down. My watercolor paper is a 4x6, so it's not going to perfectly fit on this little A2 window, but I'm okay with that.
So this is called plain.
This is called plain, absolutely. And you know what? There really is no better way to learn how something is going to work than to do just this. Okay, so my paper's ready. Making some space. I'm not going to keep moving my machine. You guys know how that works now. We're going to press and twist, press and twist.
Do you have Vicky Boot paper here?
Do I have Vicky Booten paper here? I might.
We may have to try that out.
Like I said, I do have the Distress Heavy Stock, which would be very similar in weight.
Okay, you keep going.
Okay. I think, Matthew, you can take a look in. No, okay. We may have to come back to Vicky Booten another time. I think if the watercolor paper works, the Vicky is going to work. I don't think we'd have to worry about that too much.
It's heavier.
It's not that much heavier than the watercolor paper. Okay, so I am feeling a little bit more resistance here as I put the watercolor paper through. Let's see what it looks like. Awesome.
So paper doesn't make a big difference.
So it looks, and now if the paper is thicker, that is where you can go back underneath your magnetic plate and take out one or two of your shims. So again, this is where I encourage playing. And if you, I mean, this is a pretty big press plate that we are playing with. If I was really playing on my own, I might just take the Happy, which will fit in a small space, and that way I can use less paper. Instead of wasting all of it. Not wasting. It's experimenting. It's trying. It's not wasting. But I could be a little bit more economical with my paper if I used a smaller plate.
Okay, so we need this one. Now we need to try.
So that was the watercolor, and now we just need to try the regular Pink Fresh ink. I'm going to take a moment to clean up.
Before we go too long.
And then I think we will let you all go for the evening. I'm really in love with this. You know, it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, it's the hottest new tool. You gotta have it. You gotta have it. But if you are, and so a lot of what we've been talking about here is for card makers. Let me talk to all you scrapbookers out there. There is absolutely no reason why you could not do some of these flowers, die cut them out, and place them as embellishments on your layouts. There is one here. Let me see. So I don't have the plate for this. This was a sample that we got to make in class. It is this beautiful spray of butterflies. The nice thing about this is there is also a die that comes with the plate to help you cut out the butterflies. So you could press these, you can color them, then you can die cut them and sprinkle them all over your layouts. Sprinkle them all over your TN pages. Don't think of this as just for card making. This would make this, You Make Me Happy would make an absolutely gorgeous scrapbook layout title. So just because you're a scrapbooker does not mean that letterpress is not for you. Definitely something to play with to be able to create some really stunning embellishments for your layouts. Okay, I'm going to get out the heavy duty stuff just to, let me find the spot that I was using on this, just to give this a good clean. Now, the one thing I was worried with the watercolor paper is that some of this down the side might transfer, but it didn't. And again, that's where you would potentially take out a shim and make it not so thick. You do have that flexibility. And you know what? If you've got little marks that get left behind on your plate, on your magnetic plate, well, it just means that it's loved. Just means that you are using it and playing with it, and it certainly does not affect the usability. What did I just drop? Something dropped over here. I'm gonna have to find it later. Maybe my cleaner lid. Okay. You know what? In the interest of time, I think I will, since I'm switching inks, I'll switch plates just so that we're not standing here looking at me clean. That's no fun. We want to see how the regular ink works. So I am going to go back to the cotton paper. Let's see. No, I'll just grab a new piece. And I'm just going to do the word happy. I'm not going to do, there we go. So happy is going to go at the top. Use my grid lines to make sure it's straight. Attach my paper back onto my platen. Get the terminology down. And I did pull out that navy. Let's use the navy. All right, so press and twist. This is the regular pink fresh ink.
Sorry, we've got questions still coming through.
Yep, lots of questions. All good. So twist, twist and press, twist and press.
Adrian wants to know if you're going to have all the samples at the store for people to see at the store.
Yes, Adrian, I will absolutely take the samples to the store. Now, I will not be in the store until probably noon tomorrow. And I planned to make some more samples over the weekend so that I have some to take to Scrap Fest, but I can leave these at the store. I can leave some at the store as well. So one thing I'm noticing, and we'll see how that does, is I'm not, even though I was pressing very well, I am getting a bit of resisting for this pink fresh ink, and I am a little bit worried about the ink that I've got going on here on the plate, but this is why we're playing, and this is why we're trying. All right, snappity snap. Put that over there. Press it through.
The Spellbinders indicate how many plates will be available initially. And I had someone else ask if there's going to be a good selection of plates.
All right, so there's questions about the decorative plates and what's going to be available. Okay, so here is the regular ink. It's a little bit splotchy, not going to lie. The impression is lovely, but there are areas where I'm still seeing some of the white come through, and I don't know if that's translating onto the camera.
It is.
I
also see a smudge line.
Well, I think the smudge line is because I probably, as I was running my finger over it, I think it's smudged, so you may have to let that dry for an extra couple of seconds. Now, I also know that when I'm stamping or even ink blending, sometimes that ink looks splotchy to start with. When you walk away, let the ink dry and come back, it's all smoothed out. It's got that smoothing as it soaks into the fibers of the paper. The regular inks can smooth out. So we'll keep an eye on it. And what I may do is, as soon as we're done this live, is take a picture of it while it's still somewhat wet, and then let it dry overnight and take a picture of it in the morning just to see if that is still the case, just like when you're stamping. All right, I think that covered a lot of the questions. Let me quickly wipe this down, and then I'm going to pull out the catalog to show you, to sneak peek to you, what different plates are coming. And this is a good question for me to ask you because I have not fully placed my order yet. I would like to hear back from you. If you are adding a plate or two to play with when you purchase your machine, do you think you would be adding sentiments, or do you think you will be adding images? And you don't need to be specific on which sentiments and which images. I just want a sense of what you guys would like to play with when you first get your machine. So I am going to share this with you, and just please don't pay attention to the pricing on here because it is US pricing. So for us here in Canada, that somewhat depends on the exchange rate, and I may be strategic and not even share that with you. So there is some backgrounds, there is sentiments. This sentiment set here is one plate, one set of dies. So very much like this little set that I shared with you, you would press it all at once, then die cut it all at once. We do have some additional cover plates here. These will, and here, maybe this is a better way of doing it. So there is this plate here that has the frame, It has the thank you and it has dies so that you can cut out the thank you separately and you can cut out the butterfly separately. This is another flower plate. This is a cover plate that also has a die to cut out that centerpiece. The sentiment also comes with that set. And then here is yet another cover plate that you can color and die cut out the shape in the center. I'm going to say there's probably about, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There are 18 different plate sets that will be available with the launch. So here is another set. So there's that frame again around the background, but then there is this word note. Here is another floral arrangement that's got that cute little butterfly. Here are those butterflies that I shared with you. We saw this one off the top as well. There's the You Make Me Happy, and they've used the Bee Bowl Blooms or one of their beautiful flower sets around it to die cut. Hello, and combining it with the wax seal program. Happy birthday, let's celebrate. That is all one plate. All 4 of those words is all one plate. Oh, no, it says 2 plates. It says 2 plates, so I'm not exactly sure how it's broken down, but you've got 2 plates there. There's a cute little set that has the scissors and the hummingbird. I think I have, yeah, here's the hummingbird and the thanks. So you can put more than 1 plate on at once as you run it through. Again, this is a case of practice, 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 getting your ink coverage proper. Excuse me. One of my favorite sets is this one here, the Make-A-Wish. It does come in 2 parts so that you can stack them to make a portrait card or slide it a little bit to the one side to make a landscape card. This is a very intricate frame as well, and then they just popped the butterflies on there. So there is a really, really wide selection of plates. I do have to get some clarity from Spellbinders as to when we can make these available to purchase vis-a-vis the actual launch of the machine. Because if you are purchasing the machine and I'm shipping it to you on June 3rd, and if you want extra plates as well, I would love to be able to ship those to you all at once. There is that floral with the butterfly. There's another cute little design here. There's this beautiful one. That one is called Diamond Avery with the bird. Let's see what else I can share with you. Yeah, I think most of these are all variations. But just, adding your coloring, adding your watercolor, adding your pencil crayons, or doing more of that monochromatic look. The possibilities really are pretty awesome. And it gives us another thing to play with that's going to work really well with our die cutting machines. You've already got the main machine. You just have this little add-on pack that will go well. One thing I realized I didn't try that I had intended to try was regular archival ink as well. The Spellbinders one is a special formulation, but I'm pretty confident that regular archival ink would also work. I will add that to my checklist of things to try. So there you go, folks. That is all that I know and all that I have learned to this point about the BetterPress.
Should probably recap how they can reserve it and stuff like that.
Matt is reminding me to recap the ordering process. So, first thing you're going to do is you are going to email us, customerservice@craftersworkshop.ca. Say in the subject line, I am ready to be impressed.
Oh,
you don't really have to say that, but I like my catchphrases. Ask us to send you an invoice for the deposit. It is a non-refundable deposit. Once you have placed it down, you are in line. We are going to fulfill these in the order that they are received and paid. We definitely hope and expect to receive everything that we order. However, if there are any glitches, we will do it in order that those invoices are paid. So just send us that email, customer service at craftersworkshop.ca. Ask us to send you an invoice for the BetterPress. If you are brand new to us, please also include your mailing address if you need it to be shipped and your phone number, just so we have a backup. We will obviously have your email because you will be emailing us, and we will get those invoices out to you as soon as possible. Now, we are closed this weekend for the Easter weekend. We will try to monitor emails as we can, but as it's a long weekend, our team has been working so hard, and we do have Scrap Fest just around the corner. We want to make sure everybody gets a nice little break this weekend. So if you email us over the weekend and we don't get back to you right away, don't stress. We absolutely will get back to you, and your priority sequence in line will be based on when you have paid your invoice. So we will absolutely keep that in line. If you have any questions, again, customer service at craftersworkshop.ca is the place to send those questions.
Total price.
And total price. Total price is a very good question. There is a set price across all of Canada for $110 plus tax. So that deposit is just under half price that we're asking you to commit. Full price is $110 plus tax, and that is a standard pricing set across Canada. So you don't have to worry about what another store is going to be selling it for. It is a standard approved price by Spellbinders for that Canadian pricing. Okay, are you guys impressed? Are you amazed? I believe I have answered all the questions. Just to recap, $110 is the selling price, deposit of $50. In your kit, you get your full letterpress system. You get that flower die with the Canadian spelling sentiment.
Not die, plate.
Sorry, plate, not die. They do not cut. So your press plate, the flower with that "You Are My Favorite" sentiment. You get an ink. You get best ever craft tape.
Lower it, you're off camera.
Oh, I'm off camera. Here we go. Get it all pretty, and you get your Pack O paper to start playing with. Plus, of course, the machine, which it's over here behind me. You guys have seen it. And with that, without further ado, we will let you go for this Wednesday evening. Please definitely send us your questions, send us your requests, and we will be in touch. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in for this. It's been a lot of fun playing, and I hope to continue playing so that we've got lots and lots of samples to share with you. Have a great night.